Your Steve Jones Show podcast is loading now. The Steve Jones Show podcast is sponsored by Sunbury Motors, North 4th Street in Sunbury, and Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15 in Hummel's Wharf. Sports talk where your voice counts. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. Now from the Sunbury Motors Studio, here's Steve Jones.
All right, welcome. Great to have you with us. It is going to be an interesting show today. Interesting because we're going to have Lisa Salters on from ESPN. Up next for her will be the Niners and the Packers on Monday night. She's going to be the Grand Marshal, though, of the Penn State Homecoming Parade, which will step off at 6 o'clock tomorrow. Couldn't have made a better choice. And Lisa's going to join us on the show today. Look forward to talking to her. Also, Chris Solari on the show today from the Detroit Free Press, talking about Michigan State. We'll get into it with him. And the high school roundtable in the next half hour. Zach Showers previewing Selinsgrove. Gregg Wetzel, as always, will be in studio, and he will be previewing Lewisburg, coming off a win last week, and then the Southern Columbia Shikellamy matchup. It's either going to be Kevin or the coach, one of the two, on in that segment today.
Hort report today.
Okay. It's fine.
Or maybe both, Coach, you never know.
Coach and I have developed quite a rapport. He said something about the most intellectual football conversation is during the week. I don't know what that meant. No, I'm just kidding. So I'm looking.
Well, that's actually probably rather accurate. So I mean, you're not too far off. So.
No, I'm just kidding.
I know.
All right.
Hey, congrats are in order. Congrats.
Thank you. Who told you, Kevin?
No, he did not.
Oh. Okay. Yes. Thank you. We don't know her name, but she was born this morning at 4:48. She is 8 pounds 9 ounces, and after seeing Mom the last few days, I believe she's 8 pounds 9 ounces, and she's 22 inches long. I've seen a picture. I told Jack, and Jack says, "Any name yet?" I said, "No." I said, "No name yet." He says, "I have a suggestion." I said, "Sure." He says, Jacqueline Stephanie.
There you go.
So I texted it to Mike, my son Mike. And I said, well, I'll give you exactly what I texted him here. So as I figure out how to use the phone. I'm just kidding. Bing, 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 bing. Where is it here?
Well, you've had a long 24 hours. We'll throw you a mulligan.
I said, Jack and I think that Jacqueline Stephanie would work. Okay, laugh first, then reject it.
Or Stephanie Jacqueline.
No, since it was Jack's idea, no, I'm going to go with, since it's his idea.
Yeah.
I'll give him, just, as I told you, it's interesting because Jack and Joanne don't have children, right? My kids love him, and they could care less. Like, yeah, he's the guy that Dad works with. Like they didn't see him play. I mean, my daughter Jen was born and was 2 years old when he retired. All right, Mike was born the year he retired. So there'd be no thought process there. My kids love him. But yeah, this is number 5. These are the fun ones. I always told everybody, what's the great part about being a grandparent? You get to play with them, rile them up. It's 10 minutes before dinner. Let's have ice cream. They love you for it. And then, or if they're really little, oop, I smell something. Nope, you wanted them. I'm not doing this. I've done my time. I have done my time. So, looking, and we'll get up and see her soon. Probably within a week. Maybe after the Indiana game we'll go. But that's so. Yeah, thank you. Really cool. And yes, I did text Kevin about it. So Kevin does know. I told him. Now, the odds of him looking at his phone. It's a completely different story. But I also have the numbers for the Pick'em segment tomorrow. And I saw in the Pick'em segment, there are issues. I mean, to the point where I think he's going to be panicked.
Well, he still has time to make hay.
I know he has time to make hay, and he studies this so often. Let me see.
But that's sunshine, though, in his part of the world. That's not blazing at this point.
Okay. You went 5-1 for the week, right?
Yes, sitting now at 24-8.
You are 24-8.
You've hit blackjack. You're 21.
21-11, and he is 500 at 16-16. Now tomorrow, we're picking Georgia at LSU, Washington at Oregon, Wisconsin at Minnesota, Steelers, Bengals. All the Bengals guys thought it was an important game, so they're going to show up. Jags and Cowboys, Chiefs and Patriots. We got some good games here, man. Some really good games. Chiefs-Patriots thing's really interesting. Really interesting. Yeah. So that's what we have tomorrow. That's after DJ Dozier's on. This is the 99th homecoming game. Jeff Nelson just sent me a 99th homecoming game. It's a stripe out. Game day parking gone. BTN is going to have its tailgate show at the Bryce Jordan Center, Gate B, Saturday at 10, which is very close to where we do ours. So it looks big weekend, big game.
It is. Yeah, if you have your tickets for the game, make sure you know what you're wearing. Go to PennStateStripeout.com.
Fortunately, we don't have to worry about that in the booth.
That's right.
We wear one color or the other, and we just tell everybody, oh, yeah. Last year, it just turned out, I think Jack wore something white, I wore something blue, right? Just the way it worked out. And so people looked up, they said, oh, no, this is how we did the stripe out. Neither one had a freaking clue what we're doing.
Well, Gregg Wetzel's going to the game. Greg, what are you wearing? What do you have to wear?
I'm white.
You're white?
Yep.
Okay.
You're white?
Yep.
Okay.
I'm white.
Good. Okay. That's good. It may be Coach Hort today. Greg, the play-by-play guy for Shikellamy, is always too busy to promote his games.
He is a busy man.
Yeah, I did 25 of these shows during the week of the Ohio State game. It's amazing how you find time.
Yeah, well, I will defend Kevin, though, on this. We did have a computer crisis pop up just a little under 3 hours ago that we did need to get squared away. So it was a very out-of-the-blue thing. So I will defend Kevin on this one.
But busy is in your definition of busy.
That's true.
Hey, there's some people that just do busy work. Yeah. All right. I mean, you see he's doing busy work. Okay, fine. All right.
This from the guy that comes in on every Wednesday afternoon to record his preview for game day on Eagle 107 tomorrow night. The first thing he says to me, I hit 85 this morning on the course.
I was busy.
You were. Hey. Trying to get your number down.
That's right.
I would like to point out, Greg, okay, that it's always great to be around somebody so relaxed. They seem to do better with their job.
That's true.
Yeah. As opposed to, I'm putting out fires. I'm with Ladder 7.
No, you're right, though, Steve, because I find Justin Michaels to be very relaxed. Don't you, Greg?
Yeah.
Exactly. He's very relaxed. I mean, listen to Pat O'Brien. He's relaxed. then you, it's a third down and 28. Ease up, Sparky. It's 3.5 acre. Move on. Computer crisis. So what happened? You couldn't call up ESPN on the computer?
There was nothing web-based. No, it wasn't his computer in his office. It was one of our major ones that had some had a little crash and burn about 3 hours ago that we needed to get taken care of. So
it wasn't the one that had the Manhattan Project loaded in, did it?
Thank goodness, no.
So I was talking to a group, and I was talking to them about, it was coaches and athletic directors, and I said, look, you have to help your high school play-by-play guys out. I said, some people are reluctant to give out a depth chart. I said, all right, let me put this in perspective. I said, the Manhattan Project needs to be protected. I said, the fact that Bobby's starting at right tackle doesn't need to be. I mean, seriously. Oh, my goodness. We just found out Bobby's starting at right tackle. Change the game plan.
He was reeling off to me his starters for tomorrow night, and he ended up with only 20 total. So
who's this?
Kevin. He was checking his starting lineups for tomorrow night, and he was down 2. I don't know if there were 2 on defense or 1 on either side, or.
I'm putting out so many fires, I forgot who's on the team.
Well, 1 was kind of pending, though. There was 1 where a kid may not be able to play tomorrow night due to injury. So 1 was kind of on the fence. So, but
he's got 20 guys. Kevin having 20 starters on his chart is the equivalent to a weather forecaster having 46 states on his map. We'll come back with more in a moment on News Radio 1070 WKOK.
Do new car prices scare you? Then you haven't been to Sunbury Motors Kia.
Wanna see ya in a Kia. Sunbury Motors Kia.
Sunbury Motors Kia takes the scariness out of new car shopping with 20 new 2018 Kias under 20 grand. They make it easy and affordable to own a new Kia. Choose from 2018 Kia Fortes, Souls, Rios, and Optimas. Kia is the home of America's best value. The 2019 Kia models will be rolling in, and Sunbury Motors Kia needs to move the 2018s now. All include Kia's 10-year, 100,000-mile limited powertrain warranty. New car shopping? Don't be scared. Come to Sunbury Motors Kia and choose from 20 new 2018 Kias under 20 grand. Sunbury Motors Kia on the Golden Strip in Hummel's Wharf and at sunburymotorskia.com.
Tax and tax extra. Offer expire 10/31/18. Restrictions apply. Warranty is a limited powertrain warranty. For details, see retailer or go to kia.com.
So you're telling me that on his chart, the suit only has 20 starters? Hey, how much do you think that increases Southern Columbia's odds if they only going to play 20 starters?
like they need any more odds.
Well, I'll tell you got to give the guy credit. I mean, he picks out 20 guys and prepares for them. I mean, I know it's a 22-man game, but he's only got 20 starters on his chart. That's good. Yeah. I don't know. I came up too short. All right. So, have you followed this basketball trial at all? Oh, my goodness. It is unbelievable. You know, and so much of this surrounds Bowen, you know, because the father's been testifying, and the father gave them a treasure trove of material on the witness stand. Well, today they took it one step further, in which T.J. Gasanolo, I mean, some of the money figures he threw around on the witness stand today, and now who knows how reliable it is? Who knows? No idea. But he's a runner in all this. And the numbers they threw on this thing are just amazing. So T.J. Gassinola is the guy that was on the witness stand today. It was expected to be an eventful day, and it has been. There's wiretaps. On the wiretap, Gassinola said that Louisville coach Rick Pitino had no knowledge of payments to Brian Bowen Sr. He did think that assistant coach Kenny Johnson did know. Christian Dawkins, though, said Johnson didn't. Gassinola and wiretap phone calls. AAU coach Nasser Little, wanted a Bowen-type deal from Adidas. The AAU coach of Nasser Little wanted a Bowen-type deal from Adidas for Little to attend Miami. Adidas believed that Arizona offered $150,000 for Little. That's what he testified. Dan Wetzel tweeting all this from Yahoo Sports. Gassinola thought he could get a deal done by having Miami coach Jim Larrañaga call Adidas and join Jim Gatto and make the request. So Gassinola on a wiretap said Larrañaga made the call, will make the call when I tell him to, and everyone will be paid. Later, Gatto said that Larrañaga did call, but he just asked about the kid, and there's no proof of a request of payment being made, although it could be implied. Gassinola says that Jim Gatto is a great friend and that he appreciates him very, very much while sitting on the witness stand testifying against Gatto. Let's see. When it comes to Rick Pitino on an exchange sent a thumbs-up emoji. A lot of people did not take Pitino as an emoji guy. Gassinola testified that the guardian of Silvio De Sousa was paid $60,000 by a University of Maryland booster and needed to pay it back because then he changed his mind and wanted to go to Kansas. Gassinola offered $20,000 to help, but said he never paid it. He did pay $2,500 on a separate issue. Gassinola said he paid the mother of Billy Preston $89,000 over the course of nearly 1 year, including a $30,000 cash payout in a New York City hotel and $20,000 in a Vegas hotel. Gassinola says was adamant that no one on the Kansas coaching staff knew about the payments, although he did regularly talk recruits with Bill Self and his staff. He says that when Preston then was suspended by Kansas for crashing a Dodge Charger, he told Kansas that it was actually his grandmother's car and that she had passed away. According to Preston's mother, Nichelle Player had bought Preston the car. Per text messages, Player admits to lying to Kansas by saying that she and Gassinola were having an intimate relationship, thus the payments would be legal. This is the trial that's going on. It's way under the radar and shouldn't be.
Taking your calls at 800-795-9565. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. Now, from the Sunbury Motors Studio, here's Steve Jones.
All right, Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury. Sunbury Motors Cube, it's 11 and 15 in Hummel's Wharf. I want to get to two quick items, and then I'll get to the high school roundtable. Item number one, Sean, did you see the Alliance of American Football? 3 former Nittany Lions have signed on to play with it. Evan Schwan, Josh McPherson, and a guy that was with Penn State briefly, with quarterback Tyler Ferguson. R.J. Nydia Bucknell has signed on for the Alliance of American Football. I thought I'd throw that out there.
Love it. Outstanding.
Maybe next time at Maddie's on Monday, you can ask Joe Susan about that and be the smartest guy in the room. All right. And back quickly to that trial, T.J. Gassinola testified he paid a family friend of DeAndre Ayton $15,000. Ayton, the first overall pick in the NBA draft by the Phoenix Suns. Gassinola says he testified that he paid a family friend of DeAndre Ayton $15,000 to start a relationship between Ayton and Adidas. Ayton played 1 year in the Adidas camp, according to Dan Wetzel. Played at the Nike school, Arizona, and now signed with Puma as an NBA player. Larry Scott, the commissioner of the Pac-12, was asked about if there's a compliance problem with multiple schools connected in the conference. I've got no reason to believe that there is a systemic problem. And with that, we'll just close that down. Wow. All right, let's get to the Coach Dick Hort. News Radio 1070 WKOK. Shikellamy hosting Southern Columbia. Coach, welcome back. Great to have you with us.
Nice to be here, Steve. How are you doing today?
I'm doing very well. It's great to have you with us on board again. So, Coach, I mean, you always look at it's easy to nitpick on the tough things. Are you seeing a couple of building blocks moving forward that Shikellamy can eventually build upon that's going to make them better?
Oh, absolutely. Last week against Lewisburg, the first half of that football game, they played a perfect game. They controlled the ball. They controlled the clock. They scored points. They finished drives. They played beautifully. With 3 minutes to go in the first half, they're ahead 14-0. Lewisburg has run the ball 12 times. They've had it for 12 plays offensively total. They have a total of 8 yards, and they've punted 4 times. That was their total offensive output. Chicks ahead by 14 points, 3 minutes to go in the half. They punt the ball to Lewisburg. They do not cover the punt. Some kids got out of their lane, 65-yard return touchdown. On the ensuing Shikellamy drive, there's a Shikellamy fumble. Lewisburg picks it up, runs it in for a touchdown, 14-14 at the half, and the momentum just switched drastically. But during that first half, we had some outstanding play from Drew Balestrini, a sophomore quarterback. The defense played very, very well. The kids were flying around hustling and played a great football game. The second half was an entirely different story. Lewisburg came out and scored 42 straight points, and the final score was 42-21. But as a coach, you could see improvement. They ran the offense much more crisply. Everybody seemed to be in the right spot at the right time, and things were really looking up onto those two little breakdowns in the first half.
Does it also then showcase the slim margin of error that Shikellamy has?
That's correct. Absolutely. You cannot make – they played a perfect first half except for those 2 plays, and they had a 14-14 ball game. Now, that being said, you had to realize if you knew anything about football, Lewisburg had superior talent. That was very obvious. But they came out in that football game flatter than a pancake. But when they came out from half, they were ready. They were ready to rumble, and the rumble they did. Hopefully this week, we show some spark, but it's going to be a great uphill task this week.
Okay, you understand this because you had all sorts of teams. How difficult is it to coach a team that has to play a near-perfect game to get the job done, where that margin of error is so slim?
Well, Steve, you've been around it a long time, and so have I. It's impossible. I don't care how good a team is. Eventually, you're going to have some breakdowns here or there. It's just the nature of the beast. It's the nature of the game. Nobody plays a perfect game. I don't care if it's Penn State, Ohio State, the New York Giants, or who it is. You're going to have breakdowns. And when you're in high school with high school kids, you're going to have more breakdowns. You're going to have more mistakes, and it is a tough job, especially when you're up against a team like they are this week that in itself is almost perfect.
Let's take Shikellamy out of the equation for the moment. When you look at Southern Columbia, why the success?
Why the success? Well, first of all, the Geisinger Hospital's in Danville.
Yep.
A lot of people from the coal regions. The coal industry's been a dying industry for 50 years. There's not a lot of industry there, okay? A ton of people from Mount Carmel, from Frackville, from North Schuylkill, from Shamokin, from all those coal region communities work at the Geisinger Hospital in Danville, Pennsylvania. Elysburg, where the Southern Columbia School District is located, is just over the hill from the Geisinger. Those people, instead of driving 30 or 40 miles to work and still living in Mount Carmel or Frackville or wherever, settle there in that little nice cozy valley just over the hill from Danville, and Southern Columbia is reaping the benefits of all those good football players that have played Coal Region football all those years. That's my theory, and
Right.
I think it's a pretty sound theory.
Yeah, that's as good an explanation I've ever heard for it, because they're just good year in and year out.
And they have a great coach. Jimmy Ross plays for us at Shikellamy. He knows what's doing. He's got good people on his staff. They're doing things right, but they just benefit from Henry Hynoski. Henry Hynoski was a great football player at Southern, and his dad and granddad played for Mount Carmel and were great football players there. Yeah. There's Chickatanos playing for Southern Columbia. They had relatives in Shamokin that were a staple of years of the Shamokin's program. The Garcias played in Mount Carmel. The dad played in Mount Carmel. Now the kids are playing for Southern Columbia. It's just they almost have a feeder system.
It's unbelievable. Hey, Dick, thanks so much for the time. I always appreciate the conversation very much.
All righty. See ya.
Dick Hort joining us, and Coach will be joining Kevin Hur tomorrow night on News Radio 1070 WKOK at 7 o'clock. 6:30 will be the airtime. Now let's get to Selinsgrove. Selinsgrove is going to return to action as they hit the road to take on Central Mountain. Zach Showers joins us. Zach, welcome back. Give me the state of Selinsgrove football right now as you see it.
Thanks for having me back again. The state of Selinsgrove football, I think that's a tough question right now. I think right now there's a big question mark. I think we're at the team's at a crossroads of the season right now, and I think fans and us in the broadcast booth are looking and saying, okay, where is this team right now? After a tough loss, but an encouraging loss against Berwick and a win against Loyalsac, I think everybody went into last week saying, okay, we're going up against a good Shamokin team, but a team that they should win. And really, Shamokin came out and punched Selinsgrove in the mouth, and Selinsgrove didn't really have much the rest of the night and ended up being down 13-2 at halftime and lost 44-8. A pretty convincing win for Shamokin. So I think right now there's a lot of question marks, a lot of curiosities about what team's going to show up on Friday night.
All right, so now I'll get something I talked with Coach Hort about, and that is this. I think Selinsgrove would be safe to say, because they had more talent than other teams the last 3 or 4 years, that in most games, not every game, but they went into most games with a heftier margin of error, where they could make a couple of mistakes, but they're good enough to get away with it. How tough has it been for everybody, and the coaching staff included, where now they know the margin of error is so much thinner?
It's been much tougher. This is something I know we've talked to the coaching staff, and being such a young team going into this season, I think the team was confident in their abilities, and I think watching every week we believe that there's still a ton of talent on this team. But I think the team finally is starting to get to a point in the season where they're saying, okay, we can't just come out here like last year's team and throw the ball all over the place. We can't come out and just have a dominant defensive game. We have to put in the time. We have to put in the effort. And we really can't take for granted any of the opponents that they're going against, whether that's a really good Berwick team and Southern team, or whether that's a team that's has a losing record on the season.
All right, now it's Central Mountain coming up this week, and it's a big bounce back week. How important will be the first quarter and a half to you, Zach, to show they've been able to shake off last week and they're going to play ball on Friday night?
I think we're hoping to see from the first whistle that this team is showing up and ready to play. I think it's going to be huge to get up on them early. Central Mountain has had some success offensively. They have a senior quarterback that has over 1,000 yards passing. They have a wide receiver that's hauled in 29 passes for 651 yards and 6 touchdowns by the name of Colin Jones. So there's some playmakers on Central Mountain, and I think the last thing the team wants to do is allow them to get up. Central Mountain's defense has definitely struggled. They've given up a lot of yards on the ground. They've had some quarterbacks that have passed for a lot of yards on them. So I think this is a game where the coaching staff's going to come out. They're going to simplify things, and there's going to be a lot of focus on doing those little things right, on executing. And I think, as in any football game, turnovers are big. And Selinsgrove had been forcing a ton of turnovers. Last week they didn't force any, but they've also been a little sloppy in the passing game and with fumbles. So this is a type of game where you look at Central Mountain and they're 0-7, and you have the opportunity to work on some things and gain some momentum, but you also can't go into the game and think you're just going to roll over them, because they do have some playmakers that can make things difficult on you defensively.
Zach, always a pleasure. Appreciate the time.
Thank you. Have a good night.
All right, Zach Showers. All right, Selinsgrove's on Eagle 107 tomorrow at 7 o'clock, 6 o'clock, the airtime for that one. Meanwhile, 100.9 the Valley. Gregg Wetzel will be on hand, and Lewisburg will have an interesting matchup with Jersey Shore coming up. And, Gregg, welcome back to the show. What turned everything so dramatically last Friday night? Coach Hort did a good job of outlining how the game played out. What, in your opinion, turned, and why did it turn so dramatically?
Well, Coach Hort was exactly right. That punt return and fumble recovery right before halftime just changed the whole mood on both sidelines. And then Lewisburg made a slight adjustment in the at halftime. And they came out in the second half, and they went an unbalanced line, and they also moved their fullback behind or between the guard and tackle, right behind them, but between the guard and tackle. So it gave them a superior edge, so to speak, in rushing the ball. They had so many people on that side of the ball, whether it be the right side or the left side, and they went right down the field and scored in 5 plays, about 65-yard drive in 5 plays. They held Shikellamy to a 3-and-out. Shikellamy punted. Lewisburg got the ball back and scored again, and then it was just a matter of the clock running out, essentially. The game was over at that time.
What does it tell you about the growth of a team that they fall behind where there could be potential panic, it's not going well, and then suddenly can find the accelerator and win?
Well, I think that's one of the biggest differences between this year's team and last year's team. Even though a lot of the players are the same, the attitude, mental makeup of the team is different. They are more confident in their abilities. It's the second year with this coaching staff. The coaching staff has more confidence in the kids and their ability to do certain things. And again, at halftime, they drew up that adjustment. It's something they practice, yes, but they literally put it together back in the locker room at halftime to come up with that. So I think those things make it much easier for Lewisburg to adapt this year and not panic when they fall behind.
Jersey Shore, what would be a couple of the keys to the matchup tomorrow night? Because you and I both know it's a lot about matchups.
The nose guard for Jersey Shore is one of the best defensive players in our league. It's a David Tome. He's about 6 feet, 200 pounds. He is really quick off the ball, and the last 2 years he has just dominated play up front against Lewisburg. And so I think that's going to be a key component because Lewisburg really relies on the running game, and they run between the tackles. So if they can control that nose guard, I think they'll have a successful night running the ball. If not, they're in for a long night again.
Do you feel like this is a team now that has more options to turn to that allows them to turn certain games?
The freshman running back, Ethan Dominic, has really been coming on the last couple games. That's an option they didn't have last year when Max Moyers, if he would go down and have to come out, they didn't have an adequate replacement for him. So, Max Moyers he's the focal point of the offense, but he's not the only part of the offense. And some of the wide receivers have stepped up. Romel Brown has stepped up and done a nice job. Brett Newcomb has done a nice job at the wide receiver. And the other thing they have is a quarterback with his 3 years experience. If the play call puts him in a bad situation against the defense, he is audibly out of those plays into something that will become more successful, hopefully more successful for the Lewisburg offense.
Wow. That's interesting. Yep. I mean, that's at that age to do that. That's interesting.
It really is, and we haven't seen him do it till this year, but he's done it successfully numerous amount of times this year.
Always a pleasure, Greg. Thanks so much for coming in. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.
All right, Gregg Wetzel. And again, the lineup looks like this. First of all, the Eagles and Giants tonight on Thursday Night Football with Merrill, Mike, and Howard on Eagle 107 beginning at 7 o'clock. The Westwood One call will be here on News Radio 1070 WKOK at 8. Then tomorrow, high school football, it's going to be Shikellamy taking on Southern Columbia. That's on News Radio 1070 WKOK at 7 o'clock, 6:30 the airtime. Lewisburg at Jersey Shores, 7 o'clock. The kickoff, 6:30 the airtime on 100.9 The Valley. And on Eagle 107 tomorrow night at 7 o'clock with a 6 o'clock airtime, it'll be Selinsgrove back in action on the road at Central Mountain. We'll come back with more in a moment. Next half hour, Chris Solari from the Detroit Free Press. Final half hour, Lisa Salters of ESPN here on News Radio 1070 WKOK.
Your station for news, weather, business, and CBS Sports Radio. News Radio 1070 WKOK Sunbury and on WKOK.com.